I have a valuable message to share today, but first, before we get started, we have to agree on something. There's a concept upon which everything that I'm going to share with you today is predicated on. And it's this concept. How many of you are familiar, for those of you that I can see by a show of hands, by a gentleman by the name of Viktor Frankl? He is an author. Okay, he's an author. He was a psychologist. He is now deceased, but he had an experience in the concentration camps during the Holocaust, and he wrote a now millions copy selling book called Man's Search for Meaning. And so this gentleman who saw much adversity, to say the least. Karen, hi, thank you for sharing your screen, your video with me. It's a great read. I highly recommend it. But here's a truth that he shared, that everything that I'm going to share with you today is founded upon. So we have to start off to agree with this, that everyone, I'm just going to read his quote here, and then I'm going to change it a little bit. So everyone has his or her own specific vocation or mission in life to carry out a concrete assignment which demands fulfillment. Therein, he cannot be replaced, nor can his life be repeated. So this is the foundational truth that we're going to expect, we're going to lean into, we're going to agree upon together. I'm going to speak this directly to you, eliminating the pronouns and using the word you. You have your own specific vocation or mission in life to carry out a concrete assignment which demands your fulfillment. Therein, you cannot be replaced, and your life cannot be repeated. I think that is incredibly powerful, because we are raised in a culture, particularly in Western culture, in a society that teaches us there's this very common structured path to follow, right? Like you go to high school, you get a college degree, you go and you get this job, and then you're on this trajectory and everything's supposed to go smoothly. And I think one of the reasons that we run into so much adversity, so much disappointment over that trajectory is because that trajectory is a generalized one. And it does not speak to this truth that we have our own assignment to complete, an assignment that nobody but you, Karen, May, Deborah, Lauren, Gaddafi, Milry, I can't see all of the other names with this view. You have this specific assignment to walk out. I read an article, and I want to share it with you this way, because I want you to get excited about this for you. This is not simply motivation. This is you narrowing your focus to achieve that which you have been purposed to achieve. Because I believe that truth just as much for myself as I believe it for you, that you have a specific assignment that only you can walk out and that only you can fulfill. And you're always going to feel unfulfilled and unsatisfied and less than and just not belonging until you find that particular place. That's offline of this discussion. If you have not yet found that thing that's your assignment, if you haven't convinced yourself of what that is yet, I encourage you, you can chat with me offline, hire a career coach, a purpose coach, talk with somebody who can help you discover that which is reserved for you, because there is something very specific reserved for you. And I'm going to share some examples of how people that I've known and worked with have discovered that for themselves and how you can discover that for yourself. But if you've already discovered that for yourself, I want to give you another way of looking at it. So there was a New York Times article back in 2014. So there was a 2014 New York Times article by a gentleman by the name of David Brooks. He's a columnist, and he was talking about the importance, and you've probably heard this. I know you've heard a lot of it. In fact, I have a close friend that just wrote a book called The Power of No. We talk a lot about, specifically with women, how much we need to learn how to say no, right? Like how we need to learn to say no to things, because when we can say no to stuff, it keeps our eyes focused on the path. But David Brooks, in this article, I can't remember the name of it, forgive me. He talked about how do we focus in a world where there's so much vying, for our attention? How do we focus? And so he described a childlike focus. For those of you that have children, you know that children can be like deathly focused, right? Like so focused, they see no danger, they see nothing. Now, I'm not talking about that level of danger, but he said we must be inspired by the level of focus that a child has when they're engaged in something, that it's just, they're all in, they're all in, they're all focused, and they don't have to focus on what to say no to. They focus on what they're saying yes to. And so David Brooks defines this. This is the term he uses for it. He calls it a terrifying longing. And I love that because I don't know about you, but that stirs something in my soul. I'm going to share with you my own terrifying longing. I'd love for you to have your own kind of in the back of your mind. This terrifying longing, it's this thing that pulls you from within, that this is a double negative. I know it's not proper English, but you can't not do. You can't not do it. You feel compelled to do it, right? Because this is such a longing. It's been placed in you. This goes back to that quote by Viktor Frankl, that you have this assignment, right? That's your terrifying longing. It's a longing because it's there on purpose. It's terrifying because it's so big. And unlike a child, we are so distracted by all of the other things that seem safe. And today we're going to talk about the voices in our heads. And so this terrifying longing, this is the thing that as adults, we tend to forget about. We tend to lose sight of. We tend to go with this safe path. And I want to talk to you today about the voices that drown out, that suffocate, that distract, that sideline. I came up with a new term the other day, that side trick, not sidetrack. They side trick us from attending to that which is designed and destined for us. And I do believe that every person has a specific path carved out for you, because nobody can do what you do in the way you do it, period. Nobody. I don't care if you have the same education, nobody has the same ideas, nobody has the same delivery. There is a specific path for you, and that is your terrifying longing. And your terrifying longing is there to tell you what to say yes to, not to tell you, swat this away, that's a no, nope, that doesn't match, nope, that doesn't match. It's to keep you so hyper-focused on that which you know is yours to have, that nothing else can get in your way of getting that thing.